we're back
We are.
with the home.
The home. Oh boy. Yeah. I'm not gonna say the name of the place where I was. I'm not gonna say any names of nurses or anything. Well, I may, but I'm not gonna say the name of the place I was, especially because some of the situations there don't want any hate sent their way, don't want, you know, because do they suck as human beings? Probably. But do I want them to take things out on the people in their care? Absolutely not.
So,
So, with that said,
so first of all, I think it would be good to have a little bit of detail of why you were there to begin with.
okay, so to recap, um, we haven't really like discussed everything that happened. People may notice a change in my speaking, and I'm getting nervous to talk about it.
Deep breath.
People may have noticed a change. I stutter a little bit now. I get stuck on words. I have a hard time finding words sometimes. It's very frustrating being inside my head and having that happen. Um, in January, um, I had a stroke. Um, and I was in the hospital for a few days with the stroke, and they sent me home and they told me I needed to get a walker. Well, I got up one morning to get my son ready for school, and I was walking across the living room to let the dogs out on a completely flat, clean surface. And all of a sudden, I lost my balance. I could not feel my right side at all. And I broke my ankle. I didn't just break my ankle, I kind of shattered my ankle.
And then your
Um,
water showed up.
and then my walker showed up that afternoon. But me being myself, I took a picture of it and I was like, hey, look at this.
Is
And
this
sent
what
it to
broke
Susie.
it?
And she was like, you need to go to the hospital. I was like, do you think it's broken?
Yeah.
Matt and
So
Susie were like, absolutely, it's broken. And I was like, nah, it's fine.
to
I'll
give
give it till the end of the day.
context, she sends me this picture. Her ankle's about this big and
It
it's
wasn't that
black.
big.
And her foot's like equally swollen. And she's like, does this look broken? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, why are we having this conversation? Why aren't you already at the hospital?
So I was walking around on it,
Yeah, that was the worst part, was then you were
doing
like,
my
yeah, I'm just
best.
gonna walk around on it.
Well, now that I know what was going on inside there, I'm like, how did I manage that? So I had the stroke. I lost my balance. I have a lot of balance issues now. Um, every once in a while, I'll just get wobbly, and so I have my cane. I have the walker for bad days. But they couldn't send me home safely because I have stairs, and I could not put any weight on my ankle because not only did I break it, I had to have surgery to put it back together with a plate and some pins on the other side. So I busted it up really well. Um, so they sent me to a care home. Um, there were a couple of choices I could have had. I chose the one that was close to home, because people were saying it's great there. It's really good. It's one of the best in the area.
That does not fill me with confidence.
Well, I get there, they bring me over in an ambulance. I get there and the lobby is beautiful. It's like a hotel lobby. And they take me upstairs in a hospital bed, mind you, which is fine. Like, that's how they transported me. And things changed. My first night there, they didn't get me a wheelchair or anything, but they did bring my walker up. I was able to go to the bathroom with a wheelchair and things like that without putting any weight on my ankle. This is before I even had surgery at the hospital, but they didn't want to let me do that at the care home. They told me I had to use a bedpan, and I'll be damned. I'm not using a bedpan. There's no reason other than you're lazy and don't want to help me to the bathroom. So I would get my little walker and sit on it because my walker is the kind with the wheels and the seat. And I would scoot myself with my left foot and go to the bathroom that way. And that was my first night. Plus, they didn't have my medication when I arrived. I was assured that all my medications would be there because they have a pharmacy and because the hospital had sent everything over. They did not. One of the things they did not send was my pain medication the first day. They did, however, have intravenous pain medication they could give me, or like with a shot. So they would give me a shot for pain medication, but it took them days to get the proper medication for me because the stuff they were giving me, yes, it knocked me out or whatever, but it wasn't really. That's not why I take pain medication. I take pain medication to function. I don't want to get knocked out. So, yeah. So that was the beginning.
And then what happened?
So I was there for a little bit,
You were
and
there
there
for
was
a
one.
long time.
Well, yeah, I was there. I was there from January to March. I was not at home. I was in either the hospital or the home. And I started noticing there were two nurses there that were just absolutely amazing. They took care of me. They helped me out. Now, my little sister is my healthcare proxy, which means she makes decisions for me because I want her to make decisions for me. She is a nurse, she's an RN. She's going to get her degree to become a nurse practitioner. She knows what she's talking about. She knows me. She knows what I live with
Yeah.
better than anyone besides me. Um, they did not like it when my sister would call to check on me. Um, They also did not like it when my sister would call and notice that I was in pain and that I hadn't had my pain medication. And she would get on them like, "Hey, listen," because the thing is I take pain medication as it is. Um, they were giving me the exact same dosages as what I had been taking before anything happened to me. So I have all this extra pain. And not only is it extra pain, it hasn't been addressed yet because I had to wait for a surgery date. They had to wait for some of the swelling to go down. So I'm in extra pain because of this break, and they're giving me the same medication that I take for my chronic pain. Any other doctor or nurse would have increased it. It got to the point where there was one nurse that just wouldn't give me my medication. She would always question, well, why do you want it? Well, you can't have this and that together. Yes, actually, I can. It's prescribed that I can take a muscle relaxer at the same time as I take a pain pill. I try not to because I try to stagger them to keep myself, one, not high, and two, functional.
Hmm.
It's not that hard. I know I've been sick for over 20 years with the chronic illnesses that I have. I've learned how to manage them. But she was very, very difficult. She kept telling me I was going to end up with a drug problem. And I was like, I've been taking these meds for 10 years. I think I'm okay. You know? And it got to the point where she was not helpful. She would ignore when I would call. I would call and ask for medication, and an hour later it would be like, oh well, I got busy, I'm sorry, I forgot, and I'll go get it now, and then it would still be another half hour. Meanwhile, I'm suffering. um so I got hysterical, and I called my sister, and I called my doctor to please ask them to get in touch with their doctor, because I was fine. I was managing until they took my anxiety medication away.
I remember that.
Yeah. I have a problem with anxiety. I have a problem with PTSD. I actually am considered disabled by the military because of it, because it's from my military service. Um, when I'm in a place like that and I can't have control over anything, and I can't, it's bad enough being in the hospital. I can't sleep in the hospital. But because of COVID, I couldn't really leave my room or anything either. Um, so I was stuck, and I was at their mercy. And I was having panic attacks. So where I would normally take a Valium at night, it was Xanax, where I would normally take it at night just to sleep. They were causing me so much anxiety that I was taking it 3 times a day. I'm allowed by my doctor at the time to take it 4 times a day. I didn't, because I don't, you know, but I was having a hard time. And then for whatever reason, a doctor that had never actually seen me other than when I got there, and he came in and said, hello, I'll be your doctor. I'll be checking in on you soon. I never saw him again. A month into my stay, I decided that I was on too much medication and I didn't need the anxiety medication. Without speaking to me, without consulting anyone. And it was because of the recommendation of that nurse that was giving me problems, who thought I was going to end up with a drug problem after 10 years. So I'm not getting enough medication to manage my pain. And now they've taken away my anxiety medication. And I lost my mind. I had a panic attack, called my sister, I called my doctor, begging them to help me. My doctor called. They told her, and this is what that particular nurse said, we don't have to listen to your doctor. She's outside of here. Nothing that she says makes a difference here. Mhm. And they didn't listen to her. She tells me, stop having your sister call. It's not going to make a difference. All it does is tie us up so we can't take care of people.
Well, from the sounds
Well,
of
you're not taking care of me.
yeah, from the sounds of that guy screaming across the hall from you half the time, they weren't taking care of anybody anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a gentleman that used to scream. Oh, God, he was in so much pain. He didn't know where he was. He had something going on with dementia or whatever. So he was in pain, and the pain caused him to think he was dead. And they wouldn't help him. There were the good nurses would go in and talk with him and calm him down. But if they weren't there, forget it. He would just scream and scream and scream. Again, causing me anxiety. So I threw a fit and told them I was leaving. I called Bill, my brother, and told him to come get me. I would be downstairs if I had to crawl. So I'm throwing all my stuff in, and then the social worker comes in and like begs me to stay, tells me things will be different. I won't have to have that nurse anymore. They're gonna take care of things. So I agreed to stay. I had to actually find a nurse practitioner there in physical therapy to get my anxiety medication back, to explain to her what was going on. I explained it to the doctor because he came to see me after my temper tantrum, which is what they called it. It was a panic attack, a full-on panic attack. And because it was absolutely a fight or flight response and I had to get out of there. Um, I spoke with him. I explained to him everything. I explained to him it's diagnosed. I told him it's in my records. It's all of this. And they just treated me every time I said I needed something. They just treated me like I was seeking medication to get high. That's the hard thing about living with chronic illnesses. People treat you like you're a drug seeker. Like if I were to come to Pennsylvania, right, and something were to happen and I would be like put in the hospital or whatever, and I would tell them my medication list and tell them my pain medication list and dosages and stuff, they would look at me like I had three heads. They would not believe me that I needed to take the things I take. Um, and I would have to have my doctor or my sister intervene to explain to them that I'm not a drug seeker, that I'm not selling my meds or just taking them to get stoned or whatever. That in fact I only take them and they only take the edge off and make it so that I can function. What is horrifying and absolutely awful to me, that home was mostly for older people. They kept saying, you're too young to be here, you don't belong here. My physical therapists were great, but they had no say in my medication or whatever. And everybody, you don't belong here, we need to get you out of here, whatever, because the average age of people there was like 60. And it was horrifying because there was one room that always smelled like urine. As you went by, you could smell it in the hallway. Why aren't you taking care of this? This is a hospital. Why is it dirty like that? I mean, it's not a hospital, but it's a care environment.
Yeah.
There were people like you said, screaming. And it was constant. There were people screaming all the time.
Well, there was
There
the
was one
staff
guy.
screaming back at them too,
Yeah.
which, I mean, that was. I expect in a dementia ward kind of scenario that there's going to be yelling and screaming and stuff like that. I
Mhm.
don't expect the staff to be the ones
Yeah,
screaming.
the staff screaming to where Susie could hear it when we were on a video call, telling him to shut up.
Yeah.
Then there was the day that I had come back from physical therapy and I needed a muscle relaxer because my muscles were spasming to the point where you could see them.
I
And I
remember.
was talking with Simon on a video call, and he saw her deny me my medication, watched it happen. And the way she spoke to me, she was so nasty.
Did she not realize you were on a video call?
My computer, she was behind me. She could see my computer screen. She could see Simon there. And she acted that way anyway. So Simon texted my sister because he can't do anything because he's in England.
Right.
My sister calls, and the head nurse has the friggin' audacity to tell my sister that they don't leave people in pain there. And my little sister was like, well, not 5 minutes ago, my sister's partner watched while one of your staff members denied medication. And then she brought it to me. And I asked her, have I done something to you? Are you upset with me for some reason? No, everyone just has bad days and whatever. Because she got chastised. She wasn't even supposed to be taking care of me.
Yeah, seriously.
So she got in trouble because they got a phone call. Not because she did anything to me, but because they got a phone call about her. It was just, what happens to the people that are not cognizant enough to advocate for themselves and
Exactly.
can't pitch a bitch fit like I did, and they don't have a healthcare advocate like my sister? Because my sister, you've talked to her, she's the sweetest little loving being, but don't mess with her family, and don't mess with her patients.
Yeah.
She is an advocate, and she will make them feel so bad about what they've done and the decisions they've made in their life, all while being just the nicest person ever. It's wild. Watching her do it is just insane. But yeah, the home was not. And if that's a nice one
Yeah,
that's
that's
highly recommended,
terrifying. That's terrifying.
I was told by staff that like was good and took care of me that it was the floor in this section I was on because of who the head nurse and head charge nurse were there. But if the staff and everyone knows it's a problem, why do they still have jobs?
Yeah.
I worked in a care center. Sugar worked in a care center. I worked in a care center for people with dual diagnosis. So they would have like dementia and schizophrenia or something like that, or Down syndrome and dementia, things like that. So it wasn't always easy, but we didn't scream at them. We
Yeah.
didn't let them suffer. If they needed medication, we got it. Nobody had to wait an hour after asking for help. The staff would come in and like turn off your call light and then like walk out. Or like the nurse's assistants, you would tell them what you needed. Okay, I'll tell the nurse. And then you'd ring it again after an hour, and the nurse would be like, nobody ever told me.
That's just
And
terrifying.
they'd be sullen about it, like it was my fault. I was an inconvenience.
Why were you on that particular floor rather than another floor?
Because that's where they had space.
Ah,
And then they moved me into my room after I was in quarantine for 2 weeks. So I had a room all to myself, which was great. They told me I would probably still have a room to myself. Um, but then they moved me into a room and it was just covered everywhere in like coloring you remember? Coloring pages and like pictures from magazines or whatever. Because there's a long-term resident there. And then they tell me, be careful. She might not be coming back, but when she does, she's crazy. Don't let her think that you touched her stuff.
why would they even put you in there then?
Right?
Like, they are
She,
setting it up to be a
they're
problem. And then she
setting it
did
up
come
for
back.
right. Yeah. She did never come back,
Oh,
but I
okay.
did end up with a roommate who was really nice. But they came in and I watched them packaging up her stuff. No respect for the dignity of her things at all. I mean, they were ripping her stuff off the walls, and you could tell this woman had spent a lot of time with like coloring these things because it was an outlet and it was something for her to do. You could tell she had spent a lot of time doing it, and they're just ripping them off the wall. And they threw a bunch of it away, and yeah, it was
I'm
terrible.
I'm guessing she died.
I don't know. Her family, I think, found other accommodation for her.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
It was a horrible experience. It was definitely up there in the top 5 worst things that's ever happened to me. And then when I got to come home, the first time I came outside and it was like, and Bill I didn't think they were going to let me leave. Bill gets me in the truck and I was like, go, 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 go.
getaway music starts playing.
Yeah, well, because the only other times I had been outside, I had been in a wheelchair or in a hospital bed on my way to a doctor's appointment. And that's another thing. They sent me to a doctor's appointment with this aide, and she's like, carry this paperwork and here, do this. And I'm not allowed to put weight on my foot, and I'm in a wheelchair and stuff. And she's like, go talk to the lady. And I'm like, no, you go talk to her. That's why you're here. Like, I don't know what to say to her.
Yeah.
Diana was the head nurse, right? It's not her actual name, but we're going to say Diana. Gave you specific instructions on how to do this and what you're supposed to do. She didn't give me specific instructions. She told me to get my shoe on and be ready to go. I just had a stroke. I'm not
Yeah.
like, I'm here, I'm in here, but I feel slower. And at that time, I was still having a lot of problems with my speech. Um, my speech therapist was amazing, absolute rock star. She was so good, because I got my speech back, almost back to normal. There will be times when I have to pay attention to how I'm pronouncing things, and I do still stutter sometimes, especially when I'm nervous or upset. But if it wouldn't have been for her teaching me because I had to learn new ways to make certain sounds, because I cannot feel right here on my lip. I still can't feel that. You'd be amazed at how important your lips are when you talk, and how important it is to be able to feel them, to be able to make certain sounds. So yeah, I've got some problems with feeling in my right side. I can't feel my feet. That was kind of already happening, but I got some significant balance issues. But I'm alive. And I'm aware. And I can still draw. That was terrifying to me. I didn't know if I'd still be able to use my hands. Because I don't know if you remember, the first symptom of what was going wrong, the first symptom that stuff was starting to short circuit, is I was having muscle spasms in my hands. And I was trying to put something together, and my hands spasmed, and I actually had to get stitches because I broke glass and jammed it into my thumb.
Yep.
That was the day, but that was what, 2 days or a day before I had the stroke.
Yeah.
So I was really scared. Luckily, yes, I've lost a lot of feeling in this hand, but I'm left-handed. So I can still do that. I can still build things. I just have to go about doing things differently now. I'm here. And I'm grateful every day. You have no idea.
Well, you were stubborn about going. I've never seen anybody in the middle of a stroke telling me they were fine.
Okay, yeah, we didn't mention that part.
No.
When I had the stroke, it wasn't like I got a headache and this sudden pain. It was my right eye started just doing its own thing. I was on a video call with Susie because we tend to have coffee almost every morning. And I was like, hey, look at my eyeball. Something's going on. Is my eyeball pointing that way? And she was like, first of all, your words are slurred. Second of all, I don't know what your eye's doing. And third of all, call an ambulance. For once in my life, I actually listened to her.
It took a minute. You argued with me first.
I did argue with you, but then Chase came downstairs and was like, something's wrong with you. I didn't get the classic, like sometimes you can see
Yeah.
it still droops.
It's not bad.
But
yeah, like your face wasn't doing the whole slide thing, and I mean, you could still read words because that was one of the things I did was like, hey, read this.
Yeah.
And, and you could still read, but it took you a minute. And you're
Yes.
a fast reader. And
Yes.
that's when I was like, okay, you need to call an ambulance because I could
Yes.
see you piecing
And
it
I
together.
couldn't spell and I couldn't speak properly.
You sounded
Um,
drunk and you'd been sounding drunk for days and you were sleeping a lot. So I just figured you were like
I
coming
had some
down with
weird
something.
symptoms. They were not
Yeah.
classic symptoms at all, but it
But
was because a stroke means that you get blood doesn't get to part of your brain. So I had that, but I had a blood clot in there. So I think that the blood clot was causing like the sleeping a lot and the
yeah.
yeah,
And you were like you were acting weird. You were acting really, really weird.
like weirder.
Well, weird in comparison to your normal.
Yeah.
Because I remember I forget what happened, but it was like something happened and I was like, "Oh man." And you like you got really upset about it. And it was something that wasn't a big deal. I was just like, "Oh, I'm just going to have to fix that." And you're like, "Oh no, but you really like that." And I was like, "Yeah, but I can fix it. It's not a big deal." And
Yeah, it was something that didn't even happen to me. And I
yeah,
was
and you
like,
were getting really upset and then you were kind of getting paranoid and you were just acting really weird. Like you were having like a almost borderline panic attack, like the beginnings of it. And I was like, "Are you okay?" Because it reminded me of when my mom had a stroke and she started having seizures afterwards. And after the seizure, she would have like she'd be really disoriented and really confused and usually scared about
mm,
something, really upset and scared about something that wasn't even a thing. And, like I remember the one night she came running up the stairs screaming and yelling that my dad was trying to kill her. And I was like, "What?" And, my dad's running up the stairs after her, yelling at her like mad. And I was like, "Oh my God, they're finally going to kill each other." Like it's only been, 40 years and they're finally going to do this.
good.
And
They're gonna murder each other right now. I get to watch.
I was just like, wow, they always said that they were trying to kill each other. Like the other was trying to kill the other, but never thought I'd actually witness it. And, my dad's like, "Susan, like stop it." And she's got her bra on and her shirt is like on her neck, like a almost like a scarf. And that's it. And then she's got like pants on, but she's running and she's like doing one of these deals like a toddler. And she's running away from my dad. And my dad's like, she's having a seizure. And I was like, ah, that makes more sense. So we're trying to like get her calmed down to get her dressed because he was putting clothes on her to try and get her to the ER at the hospital because he was going to take her to the hospital.
Mhm.
And for whatever reason, in the middle of all that, she decided he was trying to strangle her with her clothes
Aw.
and started freaking out and ran away. And
Mm.
we finally got her calmed down. She finally, we finally convinced her like dad is not trying to kill you. He's trying to help you. He's going to take you to the hospital. And that was when it was the middle of the night and she's about to like walk out onto the porch and it's dark and it's, Pocono's dark. There's no lights around. And it was the most heartbreaking thing because I remember her just like stopping at the door and she just grabbed hold of my dad and she's like, "Tone, I'm scared." And she's like, "It's so dark, I'm scared." And he was like, "It's okay, it's okay." And he's like, "Turn the lights on outside." And I was like, "Okay." So we went and we turned the lights on. And apparently the entire ride to the hospital, my dad was like trying to hold her in because she kept trying to open the door and jump out of the car. And she kept calling him by my brother's name, yelling at him to slow down. So yeah, it was
I
crazy.
don't have seizures, but I do still have some weird symptoms. I get tremors in my right side, like my right hand all of a sudden will start, or it'll just like shoot out like for no reason. And I get the visual thing where my right eye will go out of focus and it'll wander off. I've never had a lazy eye before,
Yeah.
but my right eye now sometimes will just completely go out of focus. And it's not like it's a lazy eye, it's like it's a wandering eye, which is very disconcerting when it happens when you're walking on stairs because it gives me vertigo.
Oh, that's bad.
Mhm. Not always, but enough, you know?
Yeah.
So that's the home.
That's the home.
That's the story of the home.
Yeah. So if you got loved
So
ones in
it's
the
a little
home,
heavy this episode.
well, if you've got loved ones in a home, check on them.
If you've got people in your life that have chronic illness, learn about it, learn how to help, and learn how to help them advocate for themselves. Because it's a lonely, hard thing knowing that you're sick and you're never going to get better. So, on that note, let's have a party.
Ooh.
I mean, this is like depressing and stuff, and there's no comedy, but
Yeah.
it's like the episode we did while I was in the home about depression and stuff. It's important
Yeah.
because I was in a very dark place when I got out of there
Yes, you were.
because of all of the things that happened. And I actually had to talk, I've been talking to someone because of it, and I've been medicated because of it. It's no joke. If you feel those kind of like, if you're feeling like worthless or any of those signs of depression or like you want to unalive yourself or anything like that, please reach out. I mean, even if I don't know you, I'll spend the night with you to make sure that you wake up in the morning. And
Yeah.
I would not feel like it's wasted time.
Same.
Oh, I know you will. You have done.
It's what I do.
Yeah, well, it's what friends do.
Well, I mean, you weren't the only one.
I
So
know. I know. We
it's what we do.
yeah, keep your friends close. Keep your loved ones safe if you can. But having someone to advocate for you when you're ill is huge because it's hard enough already being sick or having problems, but having to try and explain things to doctors just makes it that much worse. So, yeah, if you have someone in your life that's sick, learn about it. And don't swoop in like you're going to save them. Ask them what they need from you. Because I don't need much. We do prefer to do things ourselves, you know? That's our moment of disability awareness. Um, I don't know. I think we've exhausted this subject. I'm exhausted. You guys exhausted? I'm exhausted.
I'm exhausted.
But yeah, like
That's a rough one.
that was a rough one. But you know, if you need an ear, if you need something, message one of us. We're a lot more empathetic than people think we are.
We do try to present as crunchy bitches, but
But
we're soft and squishy.
yeah, I was gonna say, as Susie said, I'm just a marshmallow
I am a
with
marshmallow.
a crusty exterior.
It's true. It is true. So
Yeah,
You're
we
not
love
alone.
you guys.
Yeah, totally.
Uh,
Till next time.
Till next time. Enjoy. Look, I can still paint. There's paint on my hands.
See you guys later.
Bye, guys.